Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. My name is Will Figueroa, and I am the host of the Tigers Den Live. As always, we're joined with Paul Routhier, the founder of ClevelandRain.com, the maker of the Tiger Framework. How are you, sir?
I am great. Good morning.
It
How are
is a good
you?
morning. It's an exciting morning because right next to me here is an amazing gentleman. His name is Alex Zastable, the founder of clearandconquer.com, someone who, quite frankly, really embodies what we speak about here at the Tiger's Den Live. He, without a doubt, embodies tenacity, and he'll speak a little bit more about that in just a moment. But it's good to have you on, brother. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm excited to share with people tenacity and so much more.
You got it. So, full transparency, full disclosure, Alex is a real friend of mine, a real brother of mine. I was blessed to be at his wedding. I was blessed to be a part of some amazing things, to even be witness to some of his tenacious acts in his life, and is the reason why I couldn't think of anyone better in my life today who embodies tenacity. And in true, Zastable form, I want to bring up one of the definitions of tenacity, one that's so in alignment with Alex and what he's known for. Put it up in the lower third here. Tenacity, by definition, the quality or fact of continuing to exist. And then the word persistence. And I love that. Alex, tell us, I'll go right into and asking your purpose. Your wife,
Yes.
Miriam Al-Ali Zastable, is also known for helping people finding their purpose. What is your purpose, and why
Yes.
is the definition so apropos?
Yeah, I love that definition, first of all. And again, thank you for having me. My name is Alexander Zastapel, everybody, and my purpose is to bring out the strength in others so they can take full control of their life and gain all rights to their existence.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And
That's awesome.
you have such an amazing story. We met within the business community that's known as 10X. And in that, we very quickly got close, and we were kind of talking to each other online back and forth. And there came a moment, and I'll never forget this moment. You were on live like we are now, on social media, on our platforms, and you were on Instagram, and you had announced that you're moving to Miami. You're originally from North Dakota, where
Yes.
things are absolutely frigid and freezing, and you found yourself really trying to scratching through life. What we talk about here on the show all the time, where you don't want to scratch through life, you want to claw. You want to take real, tangible steps where you're holding on and you're making moves. Talk to us about the moment where you knew, I'm moving to Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually something that I just made a decision on in Dubai. So
Yeah.
it was something that I made a decision on in Dubai. And William, you remember the speakers room, of course, with Gary Brecka, Marion was there, you were there, and a couple of the speakers. And in that moment, I knew, like, it was a decision. It was just like that. I knew I'm going to have to give things up. I knew I'm going to have to leave comfort, which North Dakota is where I grew up for my whole life, up until 1 year ago almost here. And I knew that I had to get really uncomfortable. And I knew a few people in Miami, at least you, William, which you welcomed me into your home because I didn't have a home yet. I just decided to move. And and this is something that I knew I had to do. I knew I had to move outside of where I was from and really, really just expand. And when you leave the comfort of anything, it opens up doors for more opportunity. And I've done a couple videos talking about how comfort is the killer of all dreams.
Yeah.
If you're in comfort and you're not uncomfortable, that's actually not necessarily a good thing if you are interested in growing exponentially. So the decision was made basically in Dubai, and I just had to figure a couple logistics out in between September and October. So it was 1 month later.
That's right. We had a pretty life-changing moment in Dubai, but the real crux of that was that you were scratching through some stuff. Talk to us about where you were before that moment, before you made that decision to move and then really start clawing your way and making real moves. What were you doing before the Dubai moment, if you will, and then what happened after?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first of all, I was in vehicles that I really didn't know that I wasn't supposed to be in. And by vehicles, I mean career paths. I was
Sure.
in life
Business
insurance.
vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the life insurance world, and I didn't really know that I wasn't supposed to be there. But I knew that it was a stepping stone because it was a sales role, and I could learn more about sales and that kind of thing. So I knew it was at least a smart move at that time. But in the speakers room in Dubai, Gary talked about how if you aren't living your authenticity, you are actually destroying it.
Wow.
Okay, so like if you're not living your authentic self, if you're not in the career, in the business that you're supposed to be in, you're actually destroying your authenticity. And that just like whacked me over the head.
Yeah.
So before that, I was always looking for something bigger. I always wanted to do something really massive in my life. From the age of 10, I was dreaming about owning the Caesar's Palace, right? Like I wanted to own the Caesar's Palace. I just looked it up the other day. It's $17.1 billion. So,
Wow.
but like I wasn't thinking about how or if I would be able to do it. I just was like, I want to do that. And eventually I, got brought back down to the average way of thinking, people telling me it's impossible. I'm not going to be able to do that. All of these things, right? So leading up to the Miami moment was really a matter of realizing that I need to go live my purpose and I need to get aligned with my authenticity. And it's not like I had millions of dollars at that time yet, right? Like I didn't have like money or anything. Like I had some, but not a ton, right? So it took a lot of courage, which I know is exactly what is needed to move forward in a very big step in life. And it took a lot of courage, and I ended up moving down here. Again, you welcomed me here, and it's been amazing ever since. Like it completely changed my life.
Paul,
Hey, Alex.
I was just gonna say, Paul, you already see like this guy is tenacious. I mean,
Oh yeah, he's
from
definitely
North
tenacious.
Dakota to Miami. Talk about going from cold to hot. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think it goes deeper than that. So Alex and I have similar backgrounds. We, 30 years ago, I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Mm.
So if you look at North Dakota and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, it's kind of, we can both throw stones into Canada. It's like the Great White North. It's cold. It's just, it can be horrible in the wintertime.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, Alex. So, I came from the UP. I made the same jump. 30 years ago, I ended up jumping to Chicago and then bouncing to New Orleans, actually. And where I grew up, there was a mindset, and it's kind of, to put it in a census or a single sentence, it'd be like the status quo is the way to go, right? It's like
Right.
this compressed feeling of doom, and everybody is just grinding to get their penny out of the few pennies that are in the small town, and everybody's kind of feeding off each other from an economic standpoint, and it's and you grow up in that, and you're like, that's the way it is. What was the catalyst, the exposure that you got, to put you into, because it is the complete opposite of tenacious. I mean, just the mindset that's up there. So what shifted you over into this? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go kick some ass in the world here.
Yeah, so amazing question. Personally, it wasn't like one thing, but I can tell you a couple things that were big catalysts for me. One thing personally was reading a book called Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. That one right there got me to think about my obsession, my addictions, my drive is not a problem like everybody says it is. Like being addicted to good things is not necessarily a bad thing. And people telling us that you have to live a certain way, a certain a certain reason why you have to do things, I was just like, a lot of this doesn't even add up. Like, in fact, the people that are telling me this are broke, right? Like, it didn't actually add up. Now there was actually a lot of people that like North Dakota is an oil state, so there's actually a lot of people that had money there, and the mindset there was more going to the bars and drinking and all of that stuff. Like I fell into, and I just knew that there was much more than just doing that every single weekend. So I knew that I had to go and extrovert and go out into something else. And one of the stories that I was told, I believe right after I did this, I didn't even know this, by Miriam, which was told by someone else, was prophets aren't honored in their own home. Prophets aren't honored in their own home. Like you have to, right. Yeah, you have to go out. For everybody that is watching, I highly recommend, if you haven't moved in your life from your home state, that you do that. Even if you have a business right now, find a way to open a couple more locations in a couple other states. It'll just help you grow so much by just doing this one thing. Right. And to Paul's point, there's a certain mindset that is in your community. And for my community, it was more of, I guess it was more of like the drinking and going out on the weekends and that kind of thing. Living for the summer, because summer is about 3 or 4 months, and like winter, fall, spring is all kind of the same thing to me. It's about 8 months, 7 months, 6 months, depending on the year. So I think everybody's kind of just living for that, and they complain during the winter about the current conditions, and then they don't do anything. And that's just because of their environment that they're surrounded with. And we always say at Clear and Conquer, like, your environment is going to dictate how far you grow. If you have a whole bunch of poisonous fertilizer or poison in your field of your crops, the crops around it are not going to grow either. It's not going to just be that one area. It's going to expand. The poison is going to expand. And when you're growing up, you are brainwashed into a certain way, no matter what. And you have to start realizing if you agree with what you were brainwashed with.
Yeah, there's a certain conditioning, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, go ahead,
Paul. No problem. It's interesting you say that, because the town I grew up in, the two main industries were, one was the Sioux Locks Canal, which, opens the Lake Superior, and they run the taconite down for steel. And the other one was the prison system, right? It used to be an Air Force base, but became the prison system up in the Sioux. So those are your two main employers. And it's interesting when you do not have exposure to what's really out there. We used to, call it the difference between the UP and the real world, right? Because we'd go down to Detroit, or in these big buildings and these companies that are supporting the auto industry, and all this stuff's going on around. But when we were in the Sioux, like, you were lucky to have that job at the locks or at the prison. The prison guard was the best job in town, unless you were creating your own company or doing something like that.
Wow.
So growing up, my dad was a chief lockmaster at the locks, so he had one of the top jobs in the town, and my mom was an RN, and we, that middle class lifestyle. Right. I mean, we were at the top of the game, right? So that's the mentality. Like, if I could just have that, but then I left, right? And all of a sudden I'm in Chicago, and all these massive technology companies around me in Chicago. And I made a complete jump with no support system whatsoever, and kind of broke into the technology industry. So I understand your jump. I mean, you have to really make a mental jump up from, this is all I can have, to I can have anything I want,
right,
as long as I'm putting my effort, my tenacious effort into the right place. And that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And I agree with you, Paul. Like that was the same thing for me. There's like a certain job that most people want to get because it's the most simple way to get there, or like the simple way to get the money. And, you know, a lot of people follow that path, including myself. I was in the oil and gas industry too. And what I realized that I was just doing it for the money, and I was sacrificing everything else, including my own dreams. I was actually capping myself because I didn't really see a path for growth, and that bothered me so badly. I'm like, I do not see an opportunity for me to grow. Like it's like cap. I have to do things that are against my own values to grow. Like I don't want to do that. So I definitely can relate to you, Paul, like 100%. And I feel like towns and cities across the planet are pretty much the same. If you have a town less than 100,000, I think a lot of people can relate, or even less than 150,000. Cities, sure. I didn't grow up in a city. I think you did, William, right? Like you are. Yes, no.
I was in the burbs of New York, so
he's New York.
Very New York, where I get my coffee. Yeah.
Coffee.
But I grew up in the burbs just outside of Manhattan, and much like both of you, right? There were really only a handful of big employers. You were either working for a major pharmaceutical company in the Northeast. You were in the Department of Transportation. There was so little. So very much like both of you, I can totally relate. Which leads me to my next question to you, Alex. You know, one of the things that you have made very clear is that once you had your target, once you knew where you were going to go, you put things in place. Talk to us about that mindset. Talk to us about, okay, I found my target. What are the next steps that I need to take, or that anyone needs to take, whether in life or business, to achieve or attain that target? I mean, really tenaciously, because had it not been for a little bit of some luck or some grace, you know, I don't know if I would have been able to see you live and then live offer my place to you in order for you to have a place to move down to. So outside of, you know, a sprinkling of a little luck or maybe some divine intervention, what were some of the other things that you put into place to really make your moves? Because once you had the target set, you were on fire. There was nothing stopping you.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, it was just knowing exactly like the path, like figuring out what I even want. Most people don't know what they want. If I would ask the question to the audience, like, what is your legacy? How many of you would actually know what is your legacy? Like most people don't know what they want in their legacy even.
Right.
You don't have a plan for that. And that's a problem, because that means they're probably only thinking about the next 30 days, or they're only thinking about tomorrow or today. And you have to be doing things today for your legacy and for 5 years out, 10 years out. Because if you were only looking for that instant gratification, you are going to set targets to try to get rich quick and do things really fast, when in reality, it takes a lot of repetition and tenacity to keep on pushing forward, to continue to exist in every area on this planet. Like it's an expansion game. And all of this ends up being a game. And once you know that it is a game, you can actually start creating targets, like you said, and literally hit those targets every single day, knowing that you're going to expand. And I know this because I invested in myself to figure out strategies that I know that are proven. So I just went and used those strategies. And then what I did now is now we teach those strategies for other people, so they can follow something that if they just follow this, they are going to have expansion, prosperity. They're going to be able to reach their goals, you know? But most people think that they can just do random motion, random things, and it ends up getting them random results. One thing that John Maxwell taught me a couple weekends ago, but it's something that I've been practicing myself, but he said to the audience, growth is not automatic, it is intentional. You have to be intentional about everything that you do in your life. If you aren't, you are going to have so much random noise and confusion that you're going to get discouraged. And what most people do is they quit. They don't have that tenacity because they get discouraged, they get disappointed, and they're like, this is too hard. We have people that quit in weeks. We have people that quit in months, or on this planet, I mean, and just in general. There's people that quit a year later. There's people that quit right before they get to the gold, like that meme where the guy's like picking at the gold and he's about to get there and he turns around. A lot of people do things like that. So setting the targets is going to allow you to have something that you can execute on every single day, Monday through Sunday, every single day. And like Miriam and myself, we have all of that laid out. So we're very confident. And it's amazing because one of our fastest growing channels is our YouTube channel. And it's growing at 1,100% month over month right now. Yeah. So it's growing fast.
Yeah. Talk to us, Paul, in regards to strategies. You know, you're so known for, especially over at Cleveland Rain, for just putting the visualization together. Much like Alex, he had a target. Talk to us about why having that target and the strategies in place are so important, and the tenacity it takes to keep going.
Well, yeah, you know, as I say, tenacity without a plan is dancing a jig, right?
Right.
Just doing circles.
Yeah.
The big thing is proper planning. I mean, yeah, you have to set out that big hairy target, to Alex's point, and start working your way back so that you have points of execution. And then, you know, it's project planning. You have milestones that you need to put in there so that you know, so you, as you put a couple of weeks ago, well, you can stop, take a look back and say, hey, look where I was and look where I am today. And
Right.
There's the goal out there. And I if you don't, to Alex's point, people quit just before they hit the nugget of gold. And the thing is, a lot of the reason they quit is because they don't look back and see how far they've come.
Yeah.
That's inspirational. Sorry to throw the I in there today.
No, that's why we're here.
But inspiration creates tenacity, right? It's that ability to see where you're going to go, to execute little spots along the way so that you know you're moving the needle forward. And that gives you the energy to be tenacious to keep moving forward. And having a good plan, then you can identify possible risks to your plan. What could go wrong? All right. And you can build contingencies in for that so you can work around those. Like all three of us have said, you never change the goal, you just change how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. And for full transparency also, Alex introduced me to Will a long time ago.
This is true.
It's you know, and it's been an amazing ride with you guys. And seeing, you know, Alex ride and Will, and you guys are both tenacious, and it's inspiring to see you guys. I'm on Alex's email list. I see what he's doing. Him and Miriam are doing all day. What, by the way, the most amazing couple I've ever seen. But they're both tenacious in their behavior, and they are building an empire based on one of the greatest purposes in the world, which is to help other people get to their purpose.
Thank you.
Totally. Alex, you know, one of the things that I absolutely love about you is that regardless of what comes your way, you figure out a way to zig and zag. You recalibrate. You know exactly what Paul is talking about. Talk to us about some of the difficulties that you came upon, and how did you pivot, or how did you zig and zag around those things? What were some of the things you put in place with those difficulties that tenaciously you put in place to just keep going?
Yeah, 100%. That's an amazing question. I've had plenty of difficulties, just like everybody on this planet. I am no different than anybody else, right? We all have massive challenges, massive, massive, massive setbacks. Every single person on this planet can relate to that. For me, it was going into deep depression because I fell in the trap of mostly myself, just beating myself up. I was a terrible, terrible friend to myself. And from the age of 10, I was dreaming about owning the Caesar's Palace. Like, think about this. Somehow something flipped the wrong way, right? And that's how life goes. Things are going to go the wrong way, and you have to know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle it, right? I went into 10 years of depression to the point where I was 19 and tried to commit suicide. I was 19 years old. I thought it would be a good idea to remove myself from this planet because I thought I was a liability to everybody around me. I thought that my parents and my family, I convinced myself, you're selling yourself every single day on something. I sold myself on the idea that would actually be a good idea, which it obviously wasn't, right? To a good idea to remove myself. And I thought, my family's just going to forget about me 2 weeks later. And they're a family that absolutely loves me unconditionally. They would never do that, right? But I convinced myself, oh yeah, they'll be fine without me. Like I'd be better off. And then, you would think I would have a wake-up call, but I didn't. I ended up becoming an alcoholic right after that, a straight up alcoholic, drinking every single day. I called it a funaholic. Okay, like I called it a funaholic because I'm like masking it. I'm justifying. I'm justifying my current reality, even though that I know that it was wrong, right? And then at 21, I tried committing suicide again, right? So I'm going along here with life, hitting myself in the face, like life's hitting me in the face, and I'm doing it to myself at the same time, which is not going to end very well, right? But eventually, I was like depressed and like I got bullied and all those things, right? But eventually I read the book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. And Grant talked about all of these things and his story where he was a drug addict for exactly 10 years as well. I'm like, wow, because my excuse was I burnt all my brain cells. I always told myself that. I'm like, there's no way I can be successful anymore because I burnt all of my brain cells. I can't remember. I'm an idiot, like all these things. I was terrible to myself and it was horrible. But Grant talked about his story in that book about how he got all of these things anyways. He had his jet. That got my attention at the time, right? I saw it on the front of the book. That's why I picked it up. And I saw that there was much more. And I seen that he was doing all these things with kids, which I have a strong passion for. That's part of my legacy, is helping kids with education. And I saw all this, and I'm going along, and I start transitioning back out. And what I learned is I actually didn't have to add more things to my life. All of you on here are trying to add things. You need to remove things first. You have to remove things from your life first, whether it's people, whether it's limiting beliefs, whether it's being really mean to yourself like that, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a bad addiction. It is really, really good to be obsessed, but obviously not for the wrong things. Move that obsession towards something that is going to help you expand, help your family, help yourself, help your relationship with your spirituality, whatever your faith beliefs are, right? To help you with all of those things. If you keep on continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, I always like to say this definition because it's insanity. That is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And what I was doing, I wanted to become wealthy, right? I wanted to make a big impact on this world. So I would do all of this work, and then in the summer, I would destroy myself with alcohol. I would remove all of my progress, momentum, everything with alcohol. So, longer story short, this is something that woke me up was reading and just knowing that I had to go start investing in myself, and I actually started investing in mentors with money and time and energy. I made a commitment to myself that I knew there was more for myself and also for my legacy that I'm going to create here.
Alex, as you transitioned, right, did you notice yourself picking different people to be around as opposed to the people that you were hanging out? Because one of the things that I talk about a lot is surrounding yourself with people who have a like mindset, who are trying to be more than they are, as opposed to those. Did you do that consciously, or did it kind of just manifest itself as you were building yourself back up? Because literally you tore yourself to the ground, kind of like rehabbing a house.
Right.
Put in a new foundation, right? Put in a new foundation, and then you started building on that. And with that new foundation became, new bricks.
Yeah.
Because the old bricks were, beaten up and torn, and they just didn't work anymore. They weren't square. Sounds like you rebuilt.
Yeah, 100%. So what I did was just, like the rebuilding myself, but I just learned that I had to go to a different spot. So I knew that there was much more out there. And funny that you say this, Paul. Like, this was one of the hardest challenges I ever had, because I had conflicting data in my head. I'm like, I've always said yes to people. I've never learned to say no to people. Like, people were always in control of me. I was never in control of myself. So with my circle and my friends, it was so hard to actually, it was a very conscious, to answer your question, very conscious. So conscious, so much effort and energy and time put into it, because it was so hard to remove myself, because some of those people helped you, right? Some of those people actually helped you, whether it's family or friends. This may be one of the hardest things people hear, but you have to see what is the biggest priority and what is going to make the biggest difference. Okay, and not only for the planet and things like that. I'm talking for yourself. What's gonna happen if you keep on hanging around with the same circle? What are going to be your personal consequences? Are you going to be frustrated for another year about, like, what you need to do, but you're not doing it yet? Like, how long are you going to do that would be my question to the audience. And I love that you talk about this, Paul, because it is absolutely critical. Like, this right here, everybody, if you don't do this, you will not get to the success, I promise. Because nothing was built by one person, so you can't do it by yourself. Nothing great was built by one person. And you have to go, I had to consciously go start surrounding myself with different people. Now, I didn't just say, screw off, or, I don't want to talk to you anymore. It was like a gradual thing for me. And some of them don't like it, by the way. And some of them might even become your haters, believe it or not, subconsciously or consciously on their part. So it's one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. I am not going to sugarcoat it, okay? I used to sugarcoat this, but I don't anymore, because that is how it is. And that is exactly why, as Grant would say, vitamin C, vitamin courage is definitely required. And vitamin T is what we can add today, tenacity.
That's right.
It's going to take tenacity, like massive amounts of it. It doesn't take money to make money, everybody. It takes courage and tenacity.
So
go ahead, Paul. I was going to start wrapping.
I know, but I have one more thing I want to say, because it's so important for I think to top on what Alex is saying. It's really about lenses.
Yeah.
And so when you build out, as we've discussed when you start building out your personal value system, who am I, right? What's my value? What's my values? And once you do that and you start looking at the people, the businesses, the places through the lens of your value system, it really IDs what you need to do to get moving forward. And part of that is building, you work from your purpose, you figure out what that purpose is going to be, you build your personal values into that. Then if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you build your company values around that, and you start looking at your interactions through the lens of that value system. And if there isn't an alignment, those are the people you need to really look at and understand if you're going to keep them in, if they're going to help you reach your purpose, or they're not, right? And I think that's what you're saying, Alex. And it's so important that the foundation of that lens, how you're looking at things, is critical to accomplish what Alex has accomplished.
That's exactly what I was saying.
100%. I was gonna try and condense here. So what I'm hearing, Alex, for anyone to truly feel and be tenacious, truly be tenacious in their actions, first and foremost, they have to invest in themselves, much like you did with reading your book, time, mentors, etc., etc. Finding your target. Once you understand that, I'm in this small town, or hey, I'm going to start this business, or whatever the case may be, really understanding your targets, and then executing against them, making sure that you know your values, qualifying your values. What is it that I actually value? I value my life. I value my skill set. And continue to go on and on. I'm also hearing audit your network, the people around you, the people who you hang out with, maybe a business to business relationship, auditing those relationships. Is it going to help your business grow? I'm also hearing making sure that you have the right perspective, because you went through so many things. Anyone could have had the perspective of, oh, well, I give up. Oh, well, I guess it's not going to work out. Oh, well, and time again, you continued to perpetuate this idea of yours. No, I'm going to make this come alive. No, I'm going to live this dream. And then finally, I'm hearing authenticity. I'm hearing that through and through, the foundation through it all is I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to make sure that I live a life that is truly authentic to me, not what I've been, brainwashed or, conditioned to believe as a kid or even as a young adult. But I'm going to find out on my own, qualify it. And then once I know, then I'm going to go. Am I missing anything else? Is there anything else that you put in, as if that's not enough, right?
Well, that 100%, William. Like you definitely received the communication. Yeah, 100%. It's all of those things are extremely vital, I would say, to success. Like I don't think you can really get around it. Maybe you could get around mentorship if you want to wait 30 years, like Grant. Right? But even him, during those 30 years, I have to tell you, he did do mentorship. But the mentorship is going to accelerate. Like if you do something with Paul, if you do something with William, if you do something with myself, it is going to accelerate, because like you can read as many books as you want, but there's not someone with the experience and guidance telling you which part of the book to read.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely, 100%. You nailed it on the head.
Oh, we do have a question from someone, Tanya. Tanya asks, how often do you think a re-audit is needed for maintenance? Great question. I'm going to go to our guest here, Alex, first. How often do you think a re-audit is needed for maintenance?
That's a really good question, Tanya. Tanya's actually in our accountability group, so great to see you here. She's amazing. She's growing her own business. But to answer your question, Tanya, it's very, very often. Like it's like once a month, I am going to reevaluate everything, because the more frequent you reevaluate anything like this in review, the more you are going to realize exactly how someone is helping you or isn't. And like, it just so happens that William, every single time we do something like this, an exercise, Marion and myself, he keeps on coming up with someone that supports us, helps us, is wanting us to grow, is wanting us to expand. We trust him. We can rely on him. We can lean on him, right? But like, there's other people that they will come and they go, and there's nothing wrong with them, by the way. There's nothing wrong with you. It is just that you are maybe growing really fast, and if you really, really value that, you can get influenced to start going back the other way. So you have to be so conscious of this. It's something, Tanya, that I've worked on for a few years. So it's a muscle that you can build. And the reason I had to work on it for a few years is because I didn't start executing right away, sadly, right? So it doesn't have to take a few years. But you want to do it, I would say at least once a month, maybe even weekly. And I think, Tanya, I believe you were in my group earlier on this year. We actually did an exercise where you evaluate the top 25 people, because those top 25 people are the people you hang around with most. And you could even do the top 5 if you want. That's the most common, but we even do like 25 because it's everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody.
they're going to have the biggest influence, right, Alex? They're going to have the biggest influence in your mind and really what you do with your body, right? Paul, what do you think? How often do you need to re-audit your work and the people around you for maintenance?
Well, I love Alex's kind of maintenance program once a month. That's very apropos. It's good. I'd go back to the idea of lenses, right? If you keep your glasses on, the red flags will pop immediately as you're in interaction with that person. Looking through that lens, you get this muscle memory to it. Like, is this person aligned with values? Are we working together to go somewhere, or are we just here drinking coffee and figuring the time? Right? Is this person moving forward in a way that fits my personal values? When I say personal values, authenticity. One of Alex's personal values is authenticity. I can see it every time I interact with Alex. I feel it, right? I feel it with you. So one of my core values is authenticity. Okay. That's one of the core things. Tenacity is one. Alex fits that. Alex, Will, you fit that. So as I'm in discussion with you, my muscle memory, or the lens, my glasses that I have on all the time, are saying immediately, yeah, at the end of the day, this conversation, and I'll wake up, or close down for the day, and I'll go, wow, what a great interaction with Alex and Will. They fit my value system. I'm going to keep going forward with these guys because they're amazing and they are in alignment with where I want to go in my life. Okay. So it's not once a month. It's like every time I interact with somebody, because I'm looking through those lenses.
Yeah.
But I do like the formal process also, sit down, because, until you build that muscle memory, or until you build those glasses.
Exactly.
Like I always say, it takes 21 days to change a habit. So you do that for 21 days and make sure that you're consciously thinking if that person, that company aligns with your value system. In 21 days, it's a muscle, and you'll just do it naturally. And then your brain will throw a red flag and you go, huh? That doesn't fit. Wait a minute, why? And then you'll answer those questions and it'll be there.
Love that. Tanya says extremely helpful. I appreciate you being on with us, Tanya, so much. Thank you so much. Paul, we've spoken about a lot today. We've spoken about the amazing story that is Alex and his journey from North Dakota all the way down to Miami. Really beautiful. Yes. I'll hand it off to you in regards to what we think should be some of the last things that we should remember, and then we'll have Alex go ahead and we'll have him speak about Clear and Conquer in just a moment.
I think for me today, and Alex, thank you so much for coming on. It's absolutely wonderful. I think for me, the biggest takeaway, just because of where Alex and I both have come from, the great white north, I think the biggest takeaway today is no matter where you come from, no matter where you're at right now, you can change the trajectory of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if things are not going in the direction that you want them to go, sit down, evaluate, figure out where you want to be, work a plan backwards to get that, set milestones, get someone to help you, whether it's Alex, me, Will, whoever that you look up to, and make a plan and execute and be tenacious about it. Yeah. And you will get out of where you're at and you will get where you want to go. And nothing can stop you if you lean into it. The only thing that can stop you from getting what you want is you quitting. Yeah. And I think that is the biggest thing that you can take away from today. Thanks you so much, Alex, for jumping on.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's incredible being on your show, and you're doing so many amazing things for people that desperately need this, by the way. Like, people really, really need to hear these things. So thank you.
Alex, tell us about Clear and Conquer and where people can get more information about you.
Of course, of course. So Clear and Conquer, my wife and myself, we founded Clear and Conquer. We actually merged our companies together when we got married, and it is all about helping people find, live, and monetize off of their definite purpose in life through our training technologies. So we really help people find their purpose first, because that is exactly the reason for their existence, which now I learned the definition of tenacity, so I'm going to use it. Tenacity is amazing. I love that word. But we help you.
There it is, right there. The quality or fact of continuing to exist and persist.
Like literally, this is what we help people do. But it is the reason behind why you are here. Like living in tenacity, which is the live part. We help people find and then live their purpose, and we show them how to monetize off of it, because people are like, I don't really know how to do what I'm supposed to be doing. They don't know how. So we show people how to get into a career or a business that is aligned with who they are. We don't show them their purpose, they find it, and they've had it their entire lives. So that is the core of our business. And of course, we help corporate people. We're in Dubai, Oman. We got some governmental things on the planet going on here. Really, really exciting big things that are going to transform communities and actually thousands of people. So excited about that as well. So we help corporations with sales, marketing, and scaling as well.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Alexander Zastable of clearandconquer.com, thank you so much for being here. And as always, if you want to connect with this amazing team, Paul, myself, all the just amazing team over at clevelandrain.com, please head on over to clevelandrain.com, book your time, get to know us, and figure out how you can stop scratching through life and really clawing your way in order to achieve the success that you deserve both in life and business. So with that, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, Alex. And for everyone watching, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.